We all tell little white lies, right? Oh, that new haircut looks fantastic. So sorry I'm late, the traffic was just a nightmare. It's kind of the social grease that keeps our daily lives running smoothly. But have you ever really stopped to think about where we, as a society, draw the line? I mean, at what point does a simple, maybe harmless fib suddenly transform into something way more serious? Something that could actually get you arrested? Well, welcome. Today, we're diving deep into that very line. We're going to explore the fascinating and absolutely critical legal world of falsities. We're going way beyond the white lies to uncover the specific laws that punish deception, especially when that deception threatens the very foundation of our public institutions and our entire system of justice.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the big question. When does a lie become a crime? Well, a lie crosses that critical line when it stops being just a personal misstatement and becomes a deliberate weapon, a tool used to subvert a system that is built entirely on trust. Think about it like this. Our society runs on a whole set of really important assumptions. We assume the person wearing a police uniform actually has the authority of a police officer. We assume that when a witness puts their hand on a sacred text and swears an oath, they're about to tell the truth. Criminal law, then, is like a tripwire. It's a system designed to go off the moment someone intentionally shatters those assumptions for their own gain or, just to cause chaos. So let's unpack exactly when, how, and why a lie finally crosses that tripwire. So this whole topic really breaks down into two main categories of criminal deception. You can think of them as two fundamental ways a lie can attack our social order. First, you've got lies about identity, pretending to be someone you're not. This is the world of the imposter, the con artist, the ghost in the system. And second, you have lies about knowledge, faking what you know, especially when it matters the most, like, say, in a courtroom. This is the domain of the false witness, the perjurer. Now, both of these are about creating a false reality, but they each target a different pillar of our society.
Let's start with that first category, impersonation, or as I kind of like to think of it, playing a role you weren't cast for. These are crimes where someone pretends to be somebody else, a government official, a person with a different name, or a member of some organization they don't actually belong to. And look, this is not just about playing dress-up. This is about seizing power, authority, and trust that you have not earned. It is, for all intents and purposes, a hostile takeover of someone else's credibility. And to really understand how the law goes after this, we need a simple but really powerful framework.
Okay, so to properly dissect any crime, lawyers and judges, they use this framework that always starts with the physical world. It's a concept called actus reus. I know it's just fancy Latin for the guilty act. But it all boils down to a really simple question. What specifically did the person do? What was the concrete, observable action they took? Did they literally put on a uniform? Did they sign a fake name on a legal document? Did they flash a fake badge at someone? This is ground zero. It has to be a physical, tangible event that kicks off any kind of legal investigation.
Right, but an act by itself isn't always a crime, is it? The second and often trickier piece of this puzzle is what's called the mens rea, or the guilty mind. This is all about intent. Why did they do it? Were they knowingly and deliberately trying to fool someone? Did they have a specific, malicious goal in mind, like trying to escape justice or cause some kind of financial damage? This element is absolutely crucial because it's what separates a malicious act from an honest mistake. I mean, think about it. Putting on a police officer costume for a Halloween party is not a crime, but putting on that exact same costume to illegally direct traffic or pull someone over or try to get into a crime scene, well, that most certainly is. The costume is identical. The intent is the difference between a laugh and a felony. And finally, every action has a reaction, a consequence. So we have to ask, what damage was actually done? And this isn't always about a physical injury or losing money. For the kinds of falsities we're talking about today, the harm is often way more abstract. But honestly, in many ways, it's far more corrosive. It's the erosion of public trust. It's the obstruction of justice. It's the undermining of a government's authority. Think of trust as the invisible infrastructure of our entire society. These crimes, they're like termites, just silently eating away at that foundation until one day things start to collapse. So this framework, the act, the intent, and the harm, that's going to be our roadmap for the rest of this explainer.
Now let's apply our framework to the first crime on our list, usurpation of authority. So the act is pretending to be an officer or an agent of the government. This could be someone flashing a fake health inspector badge to get into a restaurant's kitchen, or even performing an act, like a fake arrest that only a real official has the right to do. The intent has to be deliberate. They know they don't have this authority. They are actively and consciously misrepresenting themselves. And the harm? It's profound.
Every single time this happens, it chips away at public confidence. It makes all of us second-guess the real authorities. It's just like a rogue actor on a movie set suddenly shouting action and telling the crew where to move the cameras. They don't just mess up one scene. They create total chaos and completely undermine the real director's vision and control over the entire project.
Now, here's where the law gets really interesting and makes this fascinating distinction when it comes to your own name. As you can see here, it treats the act of creating a fake name differently from the act of simply hiding your real one. So on one side, you have the active deception. You're inventing a whole new identity. And on the other, you have this passive deception. You're essentially becoming a ghost by erasing your own identity when the authorities come knocking. Both of these can be crimes, but the law cares deeply about the purpose behind the lie.
So get this. Using a fake name isn't illegal in and of itself. I mean, artists, writers, activists, they use pseudonyms all the time for perfectly legitimate reasons. It becomes a crime under Article 178 when the intent is malicious. The law specifically calls out 3 illegal purposes. 1, to conceal another crime. 2, to escape a legal judgment. Or 3, to cause damage to someone else's interests. This is about creating a burner identity, not for privacy, but as a weapon. And the harm is crystal clear. It allows a guilty person to just vanish, leaving the justice system and their victims with no one to hold accountable. It's a deliberate attempt to become a ghost in the machine of law and order.
This one, Article 179, brilliantly illustrates how symbols themselves hold incredible power. This article covers the illegal use of uniforms and insignia. The act is simple, just wearing it in public. The intent is knowing you are not entitled to it. You know you're not a soldier, you know you're not a police officer or a member of that specific group. The harm is very similar to usurping authority. It creates confusion and it dilutes the meaning of these powerful symbols. A uniform really is a societal shortcut. It instantly communicates authority, credibility, and trust. When just anyone can put on that uniform, that shortcut is broken, and the authority of the people who actually earned the right to wear it is diminished. It's a form of stolen valor that can have very serious public safety consequences.
All right, let's move on to our second major category. We're shifting gears now from lies about who you are to lies about what you know. This is the realm of false testimony and perjury. And if you think of our justice system as a well from which we draw the truth, then a false witness is someone who knowingly and deliberately dumps poison into that well. And it's not just about one bad cup of water. It contaminates everything and everyone that comes after. The law, as you can imagine, takes this incredibly seriously, and for very, very good reason. Now, in criminal cases, the law makes this really critical distinction based on the direction of the lie. Article 180 deals with lies that are told against the person on trial, so testimony that's intended to get them convicted. Article 181 covers the exact opposite, lies told in favor of the defendant, meant to help them get away with a crime. Now, both of these corrupt the process of justice, but the law reserves its absolute harshest judgment for lies that threaten to imprison an innocent person. It sees that as a more direct and perverse attack on the very purpose of the courts. I mean, one lie tries to break a guilty person out of the system, the other tries to feed an innocent person to the system. And you can see on this chart right here just how seriously the law scales these penalties. They are directly proportional to the potential damage of the lie. I mean, look at this. If your false testimony is against a defendant in a case where the death penalty is on the line, you could face up to 20 years in prison yourself. Now, compare that to the much lower penalty for lying to help a defendant. What the law is essentially saying is this: the gravity of your lie is measured by the gravity of the injustice you tried to create. A witness giving false testimony is like feeding corrupted data to the supercomputer of justice. The system is only as good as the information you give it, and the penalties for deliberate corruption are, and should be, severe.
And hey, this principle doesn't just apply in criminal court. Under Article 182, lying under oath in a civil case, a dispute over a contract or a piece of property, is also a crime. And here, the logic is very direct. The punishment often scales with the amount of money that's at stake. So, lying to influence the outcome of a $10,000 lawsuit is going to carry a much lighter penalty than lying in a $10 million corporate dispute. The punishment fits the potential financial harm caused by the deception.
So what about lies under oath that happen outside of a courtroom? Well, that's where Article 183 comes into play. You can think of it as the legal safety net for perjury. It covers any official document where you have to swear to the truth, like signing an affidavit for a real estate transaction, applying for a professional license, or declaring your assets in a bankruptcy filing. In all of these cases, by signing your name, you are making a solemn promise not just to another person, but to the state itself. And breaking that sworn promise is a crime.
But for a public officer, a government employee who abuses their position by committing perjury, the consequences go way, way beyond prison time. They face what's called perpetual absolute disqualification. Just let that sink in for a second. It is a permanent, lifetime ban from ever holding any public office or government employment ever again. The system's message is absolutely unequivocal. If you abuse the public's trust by lying under oath, you forfeit the right to ever hold that trust again. Period.
You know, the law is also wise enough to know that the liar isn't always the only guilty party. Article 184 actually punishes the person who offers the false witness or testimony. The crime isn't just speaking the lie, it's knowingly bringing that lie into the courtroom. So imagine a lawyer who knows their witness is going to lie on the stand, but puts them up there anyway. Under this article, they are just as culpable. It's not just the person who creates the poison who's guilty, it's also the person who knowingly serves it. So, after looking at all these specific articles, what's the big picture here? I mean, why does the law take these seemingly different kinds of lies, from wearing a fake uniform all the way to telling a falsehood in court, so incredibly seriously? What is the true price of deception that these laws are all trying to prevent? When you look at all of these laws together, a really powerful common thread starts to emerge. They are all designed to be guardians of trust. They protect public trust in our government officials by punishing imposters. They preserve the integrity of our courts by punishing perjury. They exist to ensure that justice is not some game of who tells the most convincing story, but a methodical, careful search for objective truth. And ultimately, all of this is about maintaining social order. These laws, they aren't about policing minor fibs. They are about reinforcing the load-bearing walls of a functioning, just society. And this leaves us with one final thought. These laws we've talked about are the formal, official mechanisms for protecting truth in the arenas where it matters most. But if our government, our courts, our entire society are truly built on a foundation of truth, then its protection can't just be the job of the police and the judges. And that kind of prompts a question we should probably all consider. What is our individual role in demanding, upholding, and protecting the value of truth in our own daily lives,